VRB-19101.
Roberta Curry, Planning, Design, and Development Coordination. I have been sworn. Case number VRB 19-101, address is 3214 West Arch Street. Code sections under consideration tonight is 27-156, The applicant is seeking to reduce front yard setback from 20 feet to 14 feet. Applicant is constructing additions and renovations to existing home and preserving a grand tree in the front. Natural Resources is here to comment on the trees. 27-290 is also under consideration. The applicant is seeking to reduce the rear yard setback from 3 feet to 0 feet for an existing storage shed in the rear. Variance would vest the existing conditions of the shed. The property is zoned RS50. The house was purchased in 2017, and the existing family residence was constructed in 1955. Correct that. Property in question is here in red. West Arch Street is along here. Surrounding properties is zoned RS50. Site plan. Again, existing structure is the shaded area. The darker shaded area are the proposed additions. And the shed, which I believe is back here. The other concern we had, and I believe applicant is going to show some maybe alternates, because the reason staff found it inconsistent as well as transportation is because where the proposed addition sits does not meet transportation technical standards. Looking at the front, and again, it's partial front because of the vehicles parked in the front, so as the west side of the house, east side of the house, again, looking in the front, and again, the grand tree in the front yard. Looking further back on the side, on the front right side. Looking west down the street. And looking east. I have nothing further to add to the record, and Natural Resources is here for their comment.
Okay. Mr. Knox?
Brian Knox, Natural Resources. Natural Resources didn't have any objections to what the applicant is proposing. We just request that they meet with us at the time of permitting to discuss the pruning, if necessary, and tree protection guidelines. So.
Okay. No questions? All right. Applicant, please come forward, state your name, address, and if you've been sworn in.
My name is Robert Knighton. My address is 3214 West Arch Street, Tampa, Florida, 33607, and I have been sworn in.
Thank you.
All right, basically what we're doing is, the reason we purchased the house here and moved back to Tampa is because of the grand oak in the front tree. I mean, that was one of the reasons it survived the last near-miss hurricane we had, and we actually, before we purchased it, we came and looked at it to make sure the tree survived. And currently, the current driveway and carport runs right next to the tree, and then they, I'm not sure when they did it, but they did a big front, I apologize, if I could borrow some of your pictures, it'd be great. I didn't bring much with me. But there's a big arched driveway that has about a 2-foot knee wall that they cut all, and they basically root pruned about 30% of that tree at some time. And then the existing driveway has damaged the root system on it. And what we would like to do is in this area here, we're going to remove this whole driveway here. The front porch area, this little porch area, we're actually going to reduce that back, and we're going to clear and remove this whole pyramid area. I'm sorry, I'm pointing. This area here where this circle driveway comes around, we're going to remove all that and do an apron up. And but what I'm requesting is where the existing part here of this house, that's the master bedroom and master's bath. We're going to demo all that out of there and make that actually the garage and part of a laundry room. That's why we're requesting, and then we're gonna do a two-story over that, but set it further back. And the design of the house is basically, we're designing the house around the oak tree, so there's very minimal amount. We have to take out one limb that's affected, but it's already has some rotten damage to it, so it needs to be removed anyways. And that's about a 6 to 8 inch diameter limb that's been previously cut. And the second story go there, and as far as the second story goes, it's a shed roof system. And I apologize, I'm freezing to death here. But this is, it's gonna, I don't know if I can get all this on there. This is 1/4 inch scale. Y'all wanted to see that up there? I can raise it out.
Yeah, if you could help him with the Elmo
I'm not sure, I don't wanna break your.
overhead.
What do you want to show me?
I just wanna show them the second floor addition.
Can we get the, Elmo to work?
Can it go any higher? If not, well, that's, we can see that. Is that the area you want to,
Well, that's part of it, that's,
No, that's,
it's come up, this is actually the area that in it, because this would be the existing garage area, and this is the second story area. And then basically what I've designed is a slope roof that goes all the way up so that the tree, it just follows the tree. And then on the opposite side of the house, which is this section over here to the front, this is like a little mother-in-law suite that's existing on the house. And then this is the front porch. I'm reducing this. The tree sits out in this area here. It'll sit out, the tree sits approximately right out in here. We're gonna reduce this existing roof line back. And then, I'm sorry. And then the tree comes across the house this way and here, and we're gonna make this a flat deck over here and probably put something so that we don't have to cut off a major tree limb there. So in essence, what we're asking is that we're gonna remove any car traffic and anything else away from the tree and resurface and redo the landscaping and everything in yard work so that the tree can be healthy, and try to maintain the tree so that it doesn't continue to get damaged and potentially harm the tree for long-term life of the tree. And the setback, as far as the shed in the back, that was existing when we bought that, and that's my wife's she shed. So you know, to get it, I'd have to actually just remove the shed. I did do some work to it when we met there. It had the house was old. From my experience in building construction, it was probably built in the 70s and stuff, just from the materials that they used. But it is sitting on the property line. I did discuss it with my neighbor behind me and stuff, and they don't have any issues with where it's at or stuff. But if need be, I'd have to come up and pay to have somebody come in and lift it and move it and physically move the whole shed. Because it's looks like it's been added on and renovated several times. It is a frame floor system, so potentially it probably could be removed if that's required. But as far as the main house, we're mainly just looking to do the garage in the front so that we can get vehicles away from the tree. And then additional parking, once again, on this side where this little front porch area is now, we have enough room that we can do what they call a grass paver system, and that's a pervious type system, and we can put it all the way on the side of the property line, still maintain approximately 12 foot away from the tree, and then that would provide a one-car parking area so that we would meet the specification that we would need at least 2 vehicles because of the driveway being only 14-foot apron onto our property. So we could actually do something over there to accommodate another vehicle if required. Due to the fact that the interior measurements of the garage is 17.5 foot, so it was indicated to me that might be a little tight for actually to consider that a full 2-car garage, which is needing about, I think, minimum about 20 feet wide for a 2-car garage typically. So that is correct on that, but I feel that putting some type of a parking area over on the east side of the oak tree would be fair and still be far enough away from the tree without causing damage to it. So that's pretty much all I got on that.
okay. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on or against this application? Seeing none. Board, do you have any questions for the applicant and/or staff? I have a question, if you, let me ask mine first. I think you tried to show us the proposed new garage on the plan.
Yes, sir.
Could you put that back up?
Do this area. This is the existing house stops right here, and this is what we're adding on to the front to actually gain us from the laundry room. This is a proposed laundry room here, and then the garage is 22 feet deep to the existing wall once we remove all the interior areas.
So the wall you're showing is existing or it's not existing?
This wall here,
Yeah,
that's
that
not
wall.
existing. That's part of the master suite now of
Okay.
the house.
And the laundry room currently is in my wife's she shed, so she wants it out of the she shed in the house.
Okay, well, yeah, I mean, I'm asking because I need to understand the request, the hardship.
Yes, sir.
For the 6 feet that because you're going from 20 to 14.
Yes, sir. The
So-
hardship is, in essence, it's more of the tree, that we're trying to save the tree. Our hardship is the fact that, and also that if we do a formal garage, so that my wife could actually be safe and come in the house and actually be able to get in the house, because I travel a lot, so I'm out of town a lot. So mainly this whole thing, we would have to most likely request to remove the tree. And you know, because there's a little carport, but a car won't fit in there, and if I was to come forward, the tree would affect it, and it would actually hamper the tree, so we would have to look and try to figure out how we could do, so that's, if that's considered a hardship, but that's the main reason we're doing it, is to save the tree.
Okay,
It's a
and
main
in this proposed design, Mr. Knox, he's far enough away from that tree?
Yes, sir, the edge of the garage is
Mr. Knox, is
approximately
he
20
far,
feet.
is he
Yeah.
20 feet in this?
He's approximately like 20 feet. The one thing I did see is that he has like several large limbs that are over the existing home. But given where the proposed two-story building goes, he feels a lot of those limbs. And as I stated earlier, there is one decaying branch, and we would be okay with that.
Yeah, no, I mean, my concern is the new garage foundation relative to the root system.
Yeah.
Is he far enough away?
Yes.
Yeah, with the proposed design? Yeah, you should be at the podium, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Brian Knox, Natural Resources. Yes, we do believe that he's far enough away from the existing tree. Like I said, the minimum protected radius is 20. On one side, he has, by the driveway, he doesn't have that, but if he's moving the driveway over to the opposite side, he's creating that space. So
Okay.
we believe that would be sufficient for this tree.
Okay, did you have a question for him, or? Mr. Feldman?
I'll ask one, and then if you think of it, you can jump back in. And this is not for Mr. Knox, this is for the applicant.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you did a great job explaining what you're trying to do, and maybe I missed it. I want to understand where you're going, what you're building on the backside. So I see the garage here. What's going in down on this side, and then the she shed, can you show me where that is and
I'd have
where
to-
it's existing? Just so I understand what's being built and what's going into the
On the backside.
setbacks.
Yes, sir. On the backside, this area here is just
Okay.
another room. We're basically removing this bedroom that we're losing from the garage.
Okay.
And we're gonna, where the existing garage is where the existing master suite is.
Okay,
And we're just putting another bedroom back, so we can
Okay.
maintain a three-bedroom home.
but that's not going into the setback?
No, sir.
Okay,
The
no,
only
it's
part
just
of
the
the
she shed in
setback
the
on the
back
main
that's,
house is this here.
okay,
Is that garage encroachment on the front. And the shed in the back. This is the area where that addition area is going in
Right.
here. This is the shed here.
okay. And you're maintaining the minimum separation between those two?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We're still maintaining, it's 12 feet, 12 to 13 feet, I believe.
All
it
right,
is.
that sounds great. I understand, thank you.
Think of it?
No, I just had a question about those, the walls going out to the garage, but I think that he answered that, so.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, you have 5 minutes for rebuttal.
I'm good.
Anything you want to add?
No, sir, that's
You're good?
about it.
Okay, I'm
Thank
going to
you.
close the public hearing without objection. Oh, wait, I'm sorry.
Can
Sure.
I clarify on the record?
Yeah, please come to
Okay.
the podium.
Again, transportation has found the property inconsistent because I believe that this board cannot waive a transportation technical standard, is that correct? Okay, so what we had hoped that the applicant would have brought tonight was alternative plans showing us that he was not violating the transportation technical standards, so my suggestion tonight would be that we continue this so that we can see additional plans and he works out the revised plan. We don't really have a final plan for us to look at, and then with the setback request here, he's not meeting transportation technical standards to park a car here. That is zoning suggestion.
Can I see something?
Yeah, go ahead. Sure.
So I guess that which, hey, thank you for that. Actually, was my question. What is what does that mean? The technical.
Transportation technical standards, I was hoping transportation would be here tonight to.
So basically,
Talk about
though, is that it was what you're saying, that there's
Okay,
not
keep
enough
going.
space to park a car in the driveway?
I'm sorry.
Is it basically what you're saying is there's not enough space to park a car in the driveway?
Yes, from what our.
Okay, thank you. That was what I was trying to.
From what our
figure out.
understanding, this is going to be a one-car garage. So he would have to meet transportation section 27283 with 2 cars on the property. And from here to here, I would need 18 feet clear.
Okay, well, because of that,
Well,
you
you're gonna
have
add-
5 minutes for rebuttal,
Oh, I see.
Mr. Knighton.
I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
You have your 5 minutes.
I
for
apologize,
rebuttal.
Drew, I didn't realize I couldn't modify a drawing, but I did. But where I modified the drawing is indicating where we could put a single-car driver, which would meet the criteria and that would be where I was referring to doing the grass paver area on that side of the street. Still maintaining that this section here, from the tree is here, and it's still maintained at least 12 feet away from that tree. And it would be a grass, pervious section area where you could actually pull a vehicle up there and park it next to there. And I do apologize that I'm modifying.
Okay,
He would really have to discuss this criteria with transportation.
right, but transportation's never here. They're not here. Okay, and this is an RS 50 lot, but
RS
it's,
60, it is 60 feet wide.
excuse me, it's 60?
It's
And it's
60 foot wide, but
60
it's-
foot wide? What, are you done?
But it's not RS 50, but it is 60 feet wide.
Okay, I mean, since you brought this up, and I'm glad you did, could you go back to the podium with the survey you had up? Because now we're getting to the meat and bones here. Put it, move it, there you go. A little bit over, please, because there's a note on that plan I want to ask about. Can you slide it? Nope, stay out. And
Which
I
way?
thought I saw, I can't see it, because where it says 14-foot 4 setback, there's a note to the side of
Right
that.
here.
Go up. No, go,
Let's push this down some more because I can't get it past them.
no. Oh, I thought I saw a plan that had a dimension to, it said to the right-of-way. It said, is it this one? And where is that? Keep moving down. No,
you
not-
had it.
no,
You had it.
Stop, you had it.
I had it?
Yeah, you had it.
Sorry.
Keep moving down. Keep moving down. Keep moving down. Okay,
There
right
you
there.
go.
There
Right
you
there.
go.
Whoa.
Okay, so It's 30 feet to the center of the right-of-way, is that correct?
Here's the property line, the street edge is somewhere out here.
Right,
which is not
that's what
shown.
that's where I'm headed. Where
Yeah.
is the
And then
street
he's saying
edge?
that is center line.
It's a 60-foot right-of-way. Is that oversized slightly or greatly, or is that standard, a 60-foot right-of-way? And I'm just trying to address transportation's concerns because they're not here to ask. And then the other question that I would ask transportation is, in this zoning classification and width of lot, is he allowed to have 2 curb cuts?
It's allowed to have 2 curb cuts, but I believe a circular driveway has to be joined. And if that's the case, then he's affecting the tree.
Okay, but he's testified he's gonna take the circular drive out, which according
Well,
to
I mean-
the survey isn't even on his property, it's
Right.
in the right of way. It's in the right of way. So, anybody else got any questions?
Yes. In looking at the photos that were taken, it looks already like they're fitting 2 cars in. And there's already a concrete drive, so if he were to take out the concrete drive and put in the grass pavers, technically that's already approved, right? He would just be replacing what he's...
I don't know if that's correct, but, and we can't give testimony here.
Yeah.
I mean, we can ask.
That's what I mean, well, since if transportation never comes, how do we find the answer to these
Well,
questions?
correct, and in fairness to the applicant, I'm trying to see if we can get everybody comfortable with testimony here that makes sense. So, we can rely on the fact that this survey indicates a 60-foot right-of-way and it's 30 feet to the center line from the front property line, right?
Correct.
That's in the record and that's all good.
So my question would be, for where you're wanting to put the grass pavers, would that be approximately where the current driveway is?
Well, here,
It'd be-
here's the
it'd
current
be-
survey.
It'll be to the east of that.
Could we
I
have,
mean, to solve the to solve the transportation problem is I could just say, well, we're just leaving the driveway. I mean, the driveway's there, I'm not touching it, because it's not in violation of nothing. I mean, the only reason I would remove the driveway is killing my tree. But if transportation said I have to leave it to kill the tree, then I'll just leave it. And then I'm request a variance, request a hardship is the fact that it's a life safety issue due to my wife being unprotected and having to walk outside in the weather and out from there. And so that's why we want to do a variance in order to put a garage, an enclosed structure garage on the property. I mean,
Okay.
it's almost a wording issue more than
Okay.
a direct. But honestly, I'd rather remove the driveway, put the grass knoll in there if required. Because I drive a Sprinter long, tall van, and that parks in the front there. There's at least 18 feet from the edge of that existing 2-foot knee wall to the edge of the road. Because I can park 2 vehicles side by side in there. One of them being a Sprinter van in that front pull-off that's was existing when we bought the house. But that area I want to remove.
And to your knowledge, transportation's not asking for that to be removed, are they?
No, sir, nobody said anything
Right.
about me having to remove anything or do anything with it.
Okay.
We simply agreed to move it because we feel it's harming the tree. That's the only reason why we're requesting to remove, having all the, even to the point to where we're gonna hand demo it so we don't bring heavy equipment into that tree and damage the tree. So the gist of the whole thing is that we're just trying to save a tree. That's probably a 200-year-old tree there.
Mr. Feldman,
But-
question?
What you're proposing to remove is just part of that circular drive, right?
Well, correct, because part of it becomes the apron of the newer driveway.
Right. Yeah, it looks like there's room to me, but
Okay. All right, well, I mean, Ms. Mead Curry gave us her recommendation, so we'll take that into consideration. Okay? Is there anything else you wanted to add, or?
and we basically don't have a site plan to really make a full determination on what the variance is going to be approved on what really is to be looked at and how the property is going to be set and what's going to be built, what the dimensions are for sure. We have nothing clear.
Okay. This is the only, well, there is another site plan. It's hard to read, but it does not show a driveway, proposed driveway. Well, the larger scale drawings he had does. That's not in this package, but he can submit those larger drawings as a part of the record tonight. Well, okay, it's there. It's just light. It's hard for me to see. Okay. So on your proposed sketch, the proposed driveway is the same width as the proposed garage,
Yes, sir.
and it flares out.
Yes, sir, that's a standard apron. I think standard aprons at the end of them is, I think it's minimum of 22 feet, I think code requires the apron to come out and not the road abutment and be like 22 feet wide, I believe.
Well, again, if transportation were here, I would ask that question for clarification. I don't know if there are other staff members here that are comfortable talking about apron details or not. But my recollection is that an apron is in the right-of-way, not on the private property.
Yes, sir.
So what you're drawing is totally in the right-of-way.
Yes, sir.
I don't know the standards. We can't tell you what the standards are, but it may not be that. It may be something different, and that may help you or may hurt you. We don't know. So,
Okay. Can we just make it to where we're gonna do the grass pavers and accommodate an extra vehicle if required, since we obviously violating code on the
well,
property apron?
we don't get involved in that aspect of the code, because that doesn't require a setback or whatnot. The issue is with transportation, just like natural resources will tell us that if we give the approval for something, they have issues and they want to state that what those issues are and that they'll be resolved in the process of getting the permit. In my opinion, this is kind of like that. It's just not natural resources, it's transportation. So they may have rules that can't be bent or broken. We don't know what those rules are. We
Yes, sir.
can't ask them.
Well, can I ask Ms. Mead Curry a question?
Yes.
You had said that 2 curb cuts would be acceptable if the circular driveway was removed, and he said he's removing part of that circular driveway so that now you've just got the 1 cut, and he's proposing a second concrete permeable pad, paver pad on the other side. Logically, that would meet the requirements, would it not?
Again, I'm gonna defer to transportation to comment on their transportation technical standards,
Okay.
but he has the lot width
Right.
to have what we call 2 curb cuts or a circular driveway.
Okay.
It's my understanding that those driveways have to connect, not be 2 separate. So again, I think
Oh,
transportation needs
so-
to comment on that.
Okay.
So you're saying that the standard is that he can't have 2 straight-in drives
Separate
without
dis-
them connecting?
I
And
understand.
you don't know what the definition of connection is, do you? No, you probably don't. Okay, all right. Well, but we've heard testimony that the tree's in the way.
Yeah.
So it's a moot point.
Well, he's not gonna do that.
Right.
I mean,
He's not gonna
he would
remove the
just-
tree.
He would just
Right.
leave the pad, the
Yeah.
driveway as it is and just
Yeah, there's-
whatever.
There's a solution, a potential solution.
But do we need to resolve that in order to approve this?
I-
Can we not approve it and have transportation work the issue out?
I would think so.
That's what I
would
thought.
think so.
Legal?
It's legal.
What staff is advising is that part of the request is not waivable because it would be a waiver from transportation technical standards. And of course, in my packet of materials, I don't see a memo from transportation identifying what those standards are and what's required. And of course, they're not here tonight. So if the board is inclined to grant the variances as requested, the concern is that in granting that variance, there could be an impact with a technical standard.
Could it not be granted under the condition that all of that exists out there?
That we, meet- that those
Can we
things-
condition it that it,
I would even question whether, so what staff has testified to is that it's not possible to waive that technical standard.
right?
If the variance is granted as requested, it sounds like you'd be waiving that technical
But
standard.
it's not possible.
Correct.
Okay, then we should have had this conversation right up front.
I have a silly there's no such thing as a dumb question, but there's no curb here. So
It's
is
not
a
shown
curb
on the
cut
drawing,
just
but-
a phrase for how many driveways you can have? Because there's no cutting of curbs when there
Well,
is no curb.
Yeah, it's a connection to the pavement, basically.
Okay, thank
I
you.
believe is what they're concerned about ingress and egress, so it's a connecting thing. All right, okay, well, I think we've heard from you and legal.
What?
So, I'm gonna give you a couple minutes for rebuttal.
Yes, sir. I apologize for dragging this out, but,
No, your fault.
one, what is the setback for a drive? What is it, how deep does the driveway have to be to fit a car on it?
18 feet or something.
Do you know, Roberta?
Okay, Roberta Curry, Planning, Design, and Development Coordination. In order to have a vehicle sit in the front yard, from the property line to the garage entrance, I need at least a minimum 18 feet to meet the transportation technical standard for one vehicle. I understand that he's proposing a one-car garage, so I need 2 cars to meet 27-283, 2 full-size parking spaces on the property.
And one would be in the garage?
One would be in the garage.
Why
one would
wouldn't,
be-
in this case, 2 be in the garage if he has a 2-car garage?
I'm not sure what he's drawn is it would fit 2 cars.
17 feet wide,
And the garage door opening is how wide?
16 feet.
16's a standard garage door width. It's standard. Okay? I mean, he's testifying it's 16.
Right, and the standard size vehicle that we look for is 9 feet wide by 18 feet deep.
Space, you're talking about space.
Standard
'Cause
size
cars
vehicle.
aren't 9 feet wide, I don't think. Right,
That's the transportation technical standard, that's what they use.
okay, all right. Boy. Okay, well, it seems like in these cases, I don't understand why transportation's not here. It's kind of like the requested interpreter. We have to request, or the applicant has to request that a staff department that has an objection show up. They have the right not to show up. That's a question.
So I have a question. So you initially made a statement that it doesn't look like the driveway is depicted on the site plan. Generally, when we approve setback variances, we don't take into account the transportation codes, although I guess we're doing that here because they've specifically raised an objection.
Correct.
Okay.
And yes, I mean, driveways are shown typically in a proposed situation. I was having a hard time seeing the lines on this drawing. But again, we're getting into the technical standards and we can't ask the questions. So that's the dilemma. All right, I'm going to move to close the public hearing. Board, we can either vote on this as it's been presented to us, and if, I guess, there's an issue with transportation, it would come back to us.
I'm at a loss because if we don't have the departments here to address it, and I understand that staff is saying that they anticipated that perhaps the applicant show something tonight that would address these issues, but I mean, don't know that that was or was not dealt with before it got here. So I mean, if staff is recommending that we don't have the ability to do what we do, which is approve or deny variances on these issues because we don't have enough information based upon the site plan, then what do we do but move it till a time when we can?
Everybody agree or disagree? All right, then I'll move to, would somebody make a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Seconded?
Second.
All right, gonna open the hearing. Applicant,
Yes.
would you be willing to meet with transportation and work out a solution that works for you and them and come back to us in a month or 2 months?
Sure.
Was that a yes?
Yes.
I'm
I
sorry.
apologize, yes, sir.
Okay. All right. A motion to continue the application then? And if we have room, do we have room next month still? We moved one, okay. So we can move it to December's.
All right, I'd like to move that VRB 19 dash 101 be continued to the hearing to be held on December 10th.
Okay, second for that?
Second.
Second, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All right, we apologize. All right, next application, VRB 19-102.
Okay.
Tried it out last message, didn't I leave messages for you? Didn't get a return on those?
We spoke.
Yeah,
So
then
you're
I
welcome
left
to
you
call
a
me.
message asking you specific questions, but I didn't get a call back. That's why I'm here tonight. I thought I could verbally
Okay.
relay the information, and that's what I did to accommodate what was needed.
Okay, but I suggested we have a plan, so we can go outside here and talk if you want for a moment. Is that what you prefer?
No, I'm sorry.
Okay.
It's okay.
Okay,
I just my misunderstanding.
all right, sorry.
Good night.
Ready?
Okay, we're
Okay.
ready.
Okay. Roberta Mead Curry, Planning, Design, and Development Coordination. BRB case number 19-102. The address is 4205 Beachway Drive. The code section under consideration tonight is 27-290. The applicant is seeking to reduce the eve-to-eve separation from 5 feet to 20 inches. Applicant is seeking to build a new accessory structure. The property is zoned RS 75 and was purchased in 2017. Existing family residence was constructed in 1950. Aerial photograph. Again, subject property is in red and surrounding properties are RS 75. Survey of the property. Beachway here, existing driveway, existing house, accessory structure back here, wood deck. Proposed site plan, very light, sorry. Beachway Drive, driveway, existing house, and proposed structure here. Property looking to the front. Looking east. Looking west. And that is basically all I have. Any questions?
No questions? Thank you. Mr. Michelini.
Good evening, Variance, Steve Michelini. I've been sworn, and I'm here representing the petitioners, Kelly and Roy Bridges. Their proposal is to remove a non-complying accessory structure to the rear, which is 0 lot line here and about 4 inches on the rear side. And then the proposal is to remove that, demolish it, and then build a new accessory structure which meets the code. It would be 3 feet off of the side and the rear property lines. And the difficulty comes in when we have an existing pool, and so we can't shift the building over to meet the eave-to-eave separation that's required. And I'll show you an elevation here. The eave-to-eave separation that we're requesting, going to 20 inches, is from this point to an extension of the second floor here. And there's actually about a 7 to 8 foot separation from the grade, from the accessory structure here to the second story there. And it's an internal separation, so it doesn't affect any outside property owners. I got several phone calls, and they were very curious about why you're asking for a 20-inch separation between structures, and they thought it was on the outside. It's not. The accessory structure will meet all of the other codes in size and scale, and it'll be compatible with the existing home. In terms of the hardship, when you shift it to meet that setback on the rear and the side, you have to shift it toward the existing house. And as I showed you, there's really about a 7 to 8 foot separation between eaves from the single story to the second floor where the extension occurs. It is consistent with the code with respect to the comprehensive plan that no one anticipated these kinds of issues when you're trying to meet the code. When they bought the home, that existing condition was already there for the accessory structure, and they wanted to begin complying and make it into a much better condition than it already is. I don't know what else I can tell you except that it does not create a hardship or does not encroach or create any other kind of impact on any other adjacent property owner. This is an internal separation, and basically it's designed to try to meet the code as best you can in terms of the outside setbacks, which are there to protect the neighbors. I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have. I believe that there is a hardship that's created here, and it's not self-imposed when they're actually trying to meet the code on the exterior setbacks. And they have an existing home. They can't hardly move the home to meet that eve-to-eve separation, and they can't move it into the area where the pool is that would also be able to help them meet that eve-to-eve separation. So they have existing conditions, and they're trying to do the best they can with respect to reconstructing an accessory structure, and they're going to demolish it. So I respectfully request your approval, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience tonight that would like to speak on or against this application? Please come forward, state your name, address, and if you've been sworn in. Step away, Mr. McLeany.
Sorry, I didn't know there was any concern.
Hi, Renee Stagliano, and I've been sworn in, 4206 West Colbert Avenue.
Okay.
Yes, I have had some confusion, so I'm glad I'm here tonight, so thank you. If I may, thank you. This is what we got. It said 10 feet to 20 inches. So I'm a little confused now hearing the 5. Just kind of want clarification on that. And then also, so since we are north of the property, so we're directly behind them, currently the structure that's existing is 20 inches from our fence. And there's a power line there, and there's been dead rodents that kind of lodge in that 20-inch area. that I have had the luxury of smelling and getting rid of. So I'm just trying to, I guess, learn a little bit more, and just hoping that that current structure is pushed away, since it's old and it's decaying. If you may, I have a few more
Yeah,
photos.
yeah,
Thank you.
you've got a couple of minutes.
Okay, I'll make it quick. It's kind of hard to tell from my picture, but I did the best I could. So here is where there's like a shed, and then there's like a pergola area. But this is, and then here's the power line, and then this neighbor here, there's a fence there too. So there's this cute little corner for the rodents to kind of fall and hang out. So I'm hoping, and I'm just clarifying also, that this can be pushed away from there and away from the power lines. And let me just kind of, I have one more. Hold on. And maybe that can all be cleared, and that would be great, because everybody would be happy. So it's just so close. And let me see what else. And this is, I don't know if oh yeah, okay, you can see it all. So this is how it kind of looks overall. So I'm just asking just how far it would be, and then again, kind of the question that was earlier, if it could remain one story, just for hardship of privacy and the rodent and utility access. So that's what I need clarification on. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right,
Thank
you're
you so
welcome.
much.
We will get the answers for you,
Okay,
I promise.
thank
Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak on or against this application? Okay, seeing none, board questions for the applicant and/or others?
I have a question. The initial survey shows that there's barely inches between the old structure and the property line, but that photo is not inches, it's 20 inches. So I'm confused as to where, because if you're only pulling it out 3 feet, that's about the same. So yeah, I mean,
yeah.
that's the answer. The fence might not be on the property line, which if that's the case, then you can move your fence closer or further away.
Yeah, the existing structure is actually, it probably encroaches on the west property line.
Okay.
The survey shows that it's 0, and it says on property line, but it doesn't include the eaves and the roof overhang, which is probably extending over on the west property line. And then on her side, if she's on the rear, it's very, very close. It may actually be 0 lot line in the rear as well. It's extremely close. And what the applicants are proposing is to tear that down, get rid of all of the garbage and the trashy, the fence, and clean that whole corner up, move it 3 feet away so that it meets the code in the rear and also on the west property line. So the post condition will be much better than the current condition.
So just to clarify, the eaves would be at that 3 foot line.
Right.
Then instead of the building.
Right. The
Okay.
eaves, this is the interior of the property, and the eaves that they're measuring from is the eave of that new roof for the accessory structure to the second story eave. That's the 20-inch separation, but from there going vertical is 7 to 8 feet. So that wouldn't affect anybody on the outside. What she should be happy about is that it's actually going to give them the standard setbacks of 3 feet, including the eaves and gutters, on both that would be the north side and the west side of the property. So what she's asking for will be exceeded, I think. So that to the point where it'll meet current code, and it'll only be single story. It can't be more than 15 feet high according to the current code.
Any other questions? If not, I've got one for staff. And that was to address the question about the notice of 10 feet to 20 inches versus 5 feet to 20 inches.
Again, Roberta Curry, Planning, Design, and Development Coordination. My staff report does say 5, but their notice does say 10 feet to 20 inches.
And is
And
an
I think,
RS
again,
75 10 feet?
The
Or
staff
is-
report I have says 5 feet to 20 inches, okay? However, their notice request does say 10 feet to 20 inches. Yes, that's the same one I have. And again, I guess we had this same situation before. He's asking for less of an impact. In other words, it's really the eve-to-eve separation he's asking for, not the building-to-building
No, my
separation.
question is, doesn't RS 75 zoning require 10-foot separation, not 5-foot separation
Face
on
of
an
building to
accessory?
face of building to face of building,
Right.
but it's still an eve-to-eve separation at 5 feet.
Oh, I thought it was 10. Okay, I'm wrong. Okay. I just wonder why they noticed 10. So,
Well, if I could address that briefly.
Sure.
There was some confusion when we first started this notice process, and we actually petitioned for the building-to-building separation. And then in the middle of that process, the staff advised me that we needed a notice for eve-to-eve separation. So we changed it, so that, it met the code requirements, but it was a little more difficult to understand, for the lay public, because they're trying to figure out, what are you talking about, eve
well,
to
yeah,
eve to eve?
obviously, right.
So anyway, we went ahead and noticed it according to what the staff advised us to do. And that's why I showed you the diagram of what that eve-to-eve separation is. It's a first story to the second story, and the building separations are pretty much the same.
Okay. What is the proposed building separation?
5 feet,
5 feet, okay. But that's not including
But-
overhang.
that's correct.
So the proposed overhang on the proposed accessory building is what?
It's 20 inches from, if you're doing the extension.
No. My question is, how much of an overhang are they proposing on the proposed new accessory building? Horizontally, what's the overhang projection?
I'm not sure. I don't have that diagram because we changed the way it was being measured.
Okay. All right, but the net effect is it's a 20-inch separation vertically.
That's correct.
Right.
20-inch vertical separation.
Okay.
But it's about 8 feet higher.
Right.
Than at the grade.
Right. No, I think we all understand that. Okay.
For clarification,
Yeah.
Cotton zoning.
Please.
For clarification, RS 75, the zoning is district is RS 75, the eve-to-eve separation under 290 is 10 feet.
It is 10.
That's what he noticed for. So he's correct. His notice
He is correct. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank
So
you. Go ahead.
when we approve this, it needs to be that we're approving a reduction of 10 feet to 20 inches, not 5 feet to 20 inches.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Does legal concur?
I agree. I looked at the language in 27-290, and as long as all of the notices, both what was posted on the property and what was mailed, requests a reduction from 10 feet, then we can proceed this evening. I
Yeah.
just don't know what was included in the posting, the sign that was posted on the property.
Can you check that?
I have a copy of the notice and they have a copy of the photographs. It
Oh,
was
okay.
It was 10 feet to 20 inches.
On
And that's what she received as well.
Right. So, okay, so we're cool. All right.
And-
Good.
Okay. And you clarified, I assume, or you will clarify when you rebut your distance and how you're moving that from the fence to
Yes,
address
sir.
the
Yes,
neighbor's
sir.
comments?
Do we have any other questions?
Just one quickie, just for clarification, maybe you discussed this, but the placement of the building, I know that people like to have things the way they want to have things, but was there a reason why the northeast corner wasn't explored for this? Which
There's-
apparently
there's a pool
is
there.
open. Well, I'm talking about the northeast corner of the property. And it looks like there's a lot of space between the pool deck and the northeast corner.
Well, it aligns with what, their other side of their pool. You mean moving, flipping it over in here?
Yeah, exactly.
Their walkway and their pool deck and all that align with this side. So, I mean, if they're meeting the code on the setbacks, it was the more convenient. There's a slab here that they're planning to reuse. There's, a variety of other things. All of their electrical stuff, and their connections occur back here. It would have cost them a lot more money to flip it over to the other side. And it also aligns with the back of their house and their entry off of their back porch.
All right, well, I understand. I just wanted to kind of go over, why we weren't looking at that, but I can accept that.
Okay, any other questions? Sure, come on up.
Just for future. So in my yard, there's obviously a power line here. So it's 3 feet. So I can put a shed or anything I want 3 feet in front of this power line. Am I getting this correct? Is it a 3 feet rule from the fence?
It's from the property line.
Right,
The
okay.
power line is a totally different thing.
Okay,
So the zoning speaks to the 3-foot setback for accessory structures to the property line.
okay,
Not a fence, not a power line, but the property line.
okay,
So yes, you could put an accessory structure on your property 3 feet from your back property line.
okay,
They're proposing to be 3 feet with their new structure also. You'd be 6 feet apart if that happened,
okay, okay, thank you,
okay?
thank you.
Any other questions?
Are you satisfied with?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, well, wait, before we head into rebuttal. If we were to approve this tonight, are you okay with conditioning, never enclosing it, never screening it, never going more than, well, we can't make you promise the 15 feet, but,
It is an enclosure. It's an accessory structure.
oh, well, I guess the drawings I'm looking at are just line drawings on a photograph, so,
Right, it's a traditional accessory structure with a roof, and
okay,
and the only thing we're asking for is the eave-to-eave separation
okay,
reduction.
okay, so you won't agree to that?
No, sir.
Oh, okay. All right, you have 5 minutes to rebuttal, Mr. Michelini.
No, thank you. It's been a long night already.
Okay. All right, without objection, I'll move to close the public hearing. Board, have a motion and/or discussion?
For expediency's sake, I will make a motion.
Okay.
I move that the variance request for case VRB 19-102 for property located at 4205 Beachway be granted as depicted on the site plan presented at the public hearing to reduce the eave-to-eave separation from 10 feet to 1.6667 inches or feet or 20 inches. With the encroachment of eaves and gutters. Based upon the applicant presenting competent and substantial evidence in the record and at this public hearing of an unnecessary hardship or practical difficulty when considering the 5 hardship criteria set forth in section 27-80 of the city code, specifically that they are removing a non-complying structure and building a new structure that meets property line setbacks, but the existing pool and existing utilities dictate placement of this accessory structure closer to the property than permissible otherwise under the code without variance so as to meet those property line setbacks.
Okay, I have a motion for approval by Mr. Feldman, a second by Mr. Villa. All in favor, say aye.
If I may,
Oh,
a point of clarification,
Sure.
the motion included encroachment for eaves and gutters, but I understood that the requested variance was eve to eve and no further encroachment for eaves and gutters.
Fair point. I will modify. I will modify that there is no encroachment for eaves and gutters. I was merely reading off of our form that was not meant for this one, I guess. Thank you.
excuse me, no encroachment beyond the 20 inches.
Correct. Yeah, because it is an eve to eve.
Right.
Okay, so you've accepted that amendment? Okay, Mr. Villa has seconded the amendment. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Been approved, 5-0.
Thank you very much.
Next case, VRB 19-103.
Roberta Curry, Planning, Design, Development Coordination, only 3 more cases to go. Okay, VRB 19-103, address is 2408 West Sunset Drive. Code section in question tonight is 27-156. The applicant is seeking to reduce the front yard setback from 25 feet to 20, the west side yard setback from 7 feet to 3.5. Applicant is seeking to add on an existing front porch. The property is zoned RS 75 and was purchased in 2017. Existing residence was constructed in 1950.
1925,
We'll look it up.
and that's RS 60.
All right, we'll look it up. All right, aerial photograph of the property, again outlined in red. Sunset Drive is here. Surrounding properties is RS 60. Okay, again, Sunset Drive here, driveway here, existing structure, proposed front porch. Property looking at the front, looking to the east, looking west. And I will clarify applicant's question, but I have no further questions or no further information to enter for the record.
Okay, all right. Mr. Michelini, welcome back.
Good evening again. Steve Michelini, representing the Sessions, who are proposing to add a porch. And they want to add a second story to an existing single-story rear portion of their home. I've marked out in red here, which was the by plat allowable front porch encroachment. And then, as you probably know, some of the new members on the board may not know this, but in other zoning districts with RS 50, you're allowed to have a porch by right. And in this case, in the RS 60 zoning classification, you're not. You have to seek a variance. So this is where the 25 feet would be, and they're asking to go out to 20 feet from the front yard to add a porch. It'd be a 10-foot wide porch across the front of their house. And it's fairly typical for New Suburb Beautiful to have those porches. The older homes, most of them have them. And then the second part is, and I think this is where part of the confusion is, this addition was probably built in the 50s on the rear portion of the home. But the main structure was built in 1925 or 1926. Now, this is a little more clear diagram of part of the survey that shows a second floor addition being added here, and then the front porch being added there. Now, the existing side yard setback, they used to be 3.5 feet, and the codes changed in 1987, and they made them 7 feet, which made this whole side of the house non-conforming, and that's not that unusual. I'd say that probably 90% of the homes that were built in the 20s in New Suburb Beautiful do not meet the 7-foot side yard setback on one side or the other, or sometimes both sides. This is what's called a traditional American 4-on-square design, which lends itself to an easy type of addition. This is a photograph of the rear of the house, and you can see this is cinder block. This is being proposed to be removed, and then a second-story addition, a 2-story addition being added here that would match the lapboard siding that is fairly traditional again in this area. Here's a different photograph just looking straight on, and we're planning to match the existing side yard construction, the side of the building along the west side of the property. And then that would be a full extension, not an encroachment and not an enlargement beyond that side. I have one letter of support from the adjacent property owner to the west, indicating that they would be happy with the addition as long as it didn't go beyond what was already existing. So we have, and I've marked on this plan, we have a 40-inch oak here, 20-inch and another 20-inch oaks here, which kind of restrict their ability to move on to an addition on the other side. And since we already had a single story on this side of the property, it seemed like it was most logical to reconstruct this side instead of creating a whole new floor plan and trying to make the house fit into something else on the other side of the property. So with respect to and causing any more difficulties on some other adjacent property owner, we have the letter, and I'll be happy to enter into the record. Give it to staff. Indicating that they were satisfied with the existing development on that side, on the west side of the property. With respect to the comprehensive plan, it is consistent with the redevelopment of homes in a traditional neighborhood, and it maintains that same tradition with size, scale, and design. With respect to creating a self-created hardship, when they bought the property, these conditions existed, and they're not in making that hardship to anybody else. They're not increasing it. It exists and it remains as it is. A lot of the homes have a second floor. For whatever reason, this home didn't. I have a copy of the original Sanborn maps. And this is the property here, and it showed at that point that it had a garage accessory structure in the rear that since has been removed. And it's also showing you the proximity to the side property line, which has not been increased since the addition in 1950. So, as you know, as families grow and they're in what they call their forever neighborhood, and we sent out about 55 letters to all the surrounding property owners and to the adjacent registered associations, and we did not receive any calls or any other indication that there were objections to this. Again, we worked very closely with the staff in determining what the setback should be, and the 3.5 feet is the closest point on the western side of the property. And like other properties in New Suburb Beautiful, it's skewed, so it angles back. As you get further back on the property, the separation becomes larger, but at the narrowest point, it's 3.5 feet. They are not planning to build the building at 3.5 feet in the rear. They're going to follow the same building line that currently exists and simply use that as an extension going vertical. And with respect to the porch, that's a new amenity that helps to save energy. It provides an indoor-outdoor space. It also enables people to get out on the front porch for safety and security reasons. and it puts people and eyes on the street, and it helps to reduce crime. So, we do have some site constrictions. These are very large limb spreads, and the location of these trees are confining us to a building pad that we thought was far more acceptable to use the existing footprint and go vertical than it was to create a new floor plan and a new footprint. I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have. I believe that we are consistent with the guidelines and the practical difficulties as established in the variance criteria, and would respectfully request your approval.
Does that complete your presentation?
Yes, sir.
Do you have a comment or clarification, or?
Yes. Roberta Mead Curry, Planning, Design and Development Coordination. I do have to correct the record. The property is zoned RS 60, so strike RS 75. The property was purchased in 2010, strike 2017. And the structure was built according to the Hillsborough County Property Appraiser's record, 1930, so strike 1950. And I apologize for the miscommunication.
No problem. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on or against this application tonight? Seeing none. Board, do you have any questions for the applicant and/or staff? I have just one point of clarification on the proposed site plan, Mr. Michelini, regarding the rear addition.
Yes, sir.
Is the new addition extending back a little further than the existing footprint?
Yes, sir. It does go slightly further to the rear. It's about an additional 10 feet, but it would still meet the rear yard setback.
Right,
They would
okay.
not in.
But
they
the
would
way the
not-
drawing is drawn, there's a heavy line that must be the existing footprint, and then you've got a proposed addition
Yes, sir.
there.
This little
Yeah, that little
That little
section.
section right there is an extension, but the rest of it is over the existing building.
Okay.
It's an approximately about 10 feet, but it still maintains almost 40 feet from there to the rear property line.
Okay. Any other questions? Same conditional question about not enclosing the proposed front porch,
Oh, yes, sir. That will remain open.
not screened? Is that a condition you'd be willing, or?
I think they would like to maintain at least an option of screening, but that's not a strong.
Okay.
I understand no windows, no conditioned space. I think that's very clear. that they-
Walls, no solid walls?
That's correct. They would
Right.
not do that.
Okay, all right. Any other questions? All right, seeing none, you have 5 minutes for rebuttal.
No, thank you.
Thank you. All right, without objection, I'll move to close the public hearing. Board, would someone like to make a motion and then discuss?
All right, I'll get it started, we'll make a motion. So, I move that the variance request for case VRB 19-103 for property located at 2408 West Sunset Drive, Tampa, presented at the public hearing to seek relief from section 27-156 to reduce the front yard setback from 25 feet to 20 feet and the west side yard setback from 7 feet to 3.5 feet with encroachment for eaves and gutters, with following condition that the front porch as depicted in the site plan not be fully enclosed, which would include windows or walls, etc. That said variance as conditioned be granted based upon the applicant presenting competent and substantial evidence in the record and at this public hearing of an unnecessary hardship or practical difficulty, and when considering the 5 hardship criteria set forth in section 27-80 of the Tampa City Code, specifically that the hardship here is that we have basically limited footprint options, being that there are some trees on the east side of the property, and plus the the setbacks on the west side are really existing conditions dating back to 1925 for for the existing home, and 1950 for the addition.
Pardon? Second? Okay, I have a motion for approval by Mr. Villa and a second by Ms. Walker. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It's been approved 5-0.
Thank you very much, Board.
All right, next case, VRB 19-104.
Roberta Curry, Planning, Design, and Development Coordination, VRB case number 19-104. Address is 3206 West Hawthorne Road. Code section in question under consideration tonight is 27-156. The applicant is seeking to reduce the front yard setback from 25 feet to 16 feet. Applicant is seeking to construct a new garage. The property is zoned RS60 and was purchased in 2013. The existing single-family residence was built in 1974. It's the aerial of the property in question outlined in red. Hawthorne Street is here. And the surrounding properties are RS60. You have CG zoning, commercial general in the back. Site plan. Existing structure, driveway, walkways. Proposed plan. Yes. Orient it the same way I had the site plan. So proposed driveway, new garage, existing structure. Existing property to the front, to the west, to the east, further west, and to the east. Natural Resources does have comments. Staff has found it inconsistent. I have no further information to enter into the record.
Mr. Knox?
Yeah.
Brian Knox, Natural Resources. So, Natural Resources doesn't have any concerns about the garage setback reduction. However, we do have concerns about the driveway with the pervious pavers. So currently, we took measurements off of that tree. That's a grand live oak. It's 39 inches and it's off-site. We took measurements off the tree from the edge of the trunk to the beginning of the driveway, the concrete part of the driveway here. And we measured that at 9.5 feet. We think that any encroachment into further into the tree's protected radius would be harmful to the tree, so we would recommend that they reduce the driveway and keep it at the 9.5 to 10 feet. And Natural Resources would be okay with the driveway that was a little bit smaller. And basically, that's our comment.
So just to clarify, if you're suggesting they maintain a radius of 9.5 feet?
That's correct.
Once they get away 9.5 anywhere, it doesn't matter where it is, they could expand the drive.
They could continue the driveway at the
Right, at the proposed location.
at the proposed width.
Okay, all right, thank you. Applicant? Name, address, and
Good
have you been
evening.
sworn?
Charles Kitzmiller, 14216 Banbury Way. I have been sworn. With this project, we are sort of landlocked with where we can go for a garage. You can see from the existing front yard setback. We're at 36.2 here, 36.1 there. What we're trying to do is to actually get a garage on this structure. The existing structure is 1,836 square feet.
Could you zoom up a little bit,
Oh,
Mr.
sorry.
Kitzmiller?
There.
Thank you, thank you.
1,836 square feet. Young family, 1.5-year-old already. We're having another child. This is not me, this is my client. And so they love their neighborhood. I've got letters from the neighbors. They want to stay where they are. They bought the house that they can afford, and they're just trying to stay where they are. And to build a garage here rather than on this side because of the existing 32-inch oak. I have pictures of this structure here, which actually sticks out quite far from the 25-foot front yard setback. Of course, that's an older structure, so it's kind of, if we were doing like neighborhood averaging, we'd be great. But we're at RS60. So with this structure here, this is where we're proposing our structure. This is a 16-foot garage door with minimal clearance, you know, so you don't run into the house. But the overall structure is 20 feet from the existing front of the house to the proposed front, and then I'm going to the 7-foot setback on this side. That leaves 16'2" to the property line, and then another 10'9" out to the curb. So your natural resources with the 9.5-foot radius would be great, as long as building would allow us to narrow that driveway where it crosses the property line, because there's a minimum width for a 2-car garage. Even though that's not the approach, they still have this 18-foot minimum width. So that's why it's at 18 now. We can shift it over and try to make the radius work so you can actually get in the garage. Let's see what else I have. Roberta did a good job saying pictures-wise. I mean, you can see where the existing tree is, where they're parking now, because, you know, the 1-car garage just doesn't work when you're bringing home groceries and kids and all that wonderful stuff. When we submitted the application, you know, we had to have a pre-application meeting with Natural Resources. So these are the notes from that meeting. So we had already taken into account a 6-foot radius. However, we're prepared to do the 9-foot. I will leave this with staff. This is the letters from 3207 and 3210. They did a joint blessing written on the notice, and they said, "Congratulations on the second piece of heaven on the way." So they are part of the neighborhood. They want to stay in the neighborhood. It's like they're just trying to adapt their house so they can stay. That's all I have for now.
Okay, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on or against this application? Seeing none, board, do you have any questions for the applicant and/or staff?
I guess I just have another, maybe a transportation question about the 18-foot drive. I mean, can we approve that even though transportation's not here?
I'm similarly confused.
Because it sounds fine, but if we can't approve it, then like, what's the?
They approved it.
Yeah.
Please try to help us here.
Roberta Curry, Planning, Design, Development Coordination. Transportation did find the project consistent.
Right.
Right, because they're building an 18-foot wide drive, but Natural Resources saying it needs to be 9.5 feet away from the tree, and so we don't have a site plan that reflects that. So what do we do now?
What we've done on other projects, the one on Selborne, was we actually came and did a gravel radius
Yeah.
in the driveway. So that would, we would still have the 18 feet as we cross the property line for vehicular access. And there would be a pervious area in the root zone. That's what I would
Ms.
say.
Mead Curry, again, you're gonna have to speak for transportation, but my understanding from the testimony in the previous case was the need to park 2 vehicles. And they have more than enough room
yeah.
for 2 vehicles, so the
Correct.
width of the driveway at the right-of-way doesn't matter.
Mhm.
Is that a true statement or
They're-
not?
I'll just, they meet the 2-car requirement, 2 cars in the garage.
Right.
Okay, they meet the backup distance and turnout So
Right.
there have been plans that have come into the office where it is a single lane driveway, but when you come and get to the garage, then that's where it has to meet, and it meets so
So that's why they
even
found it
if
consistent.
transportation needed to have the 18-foot width here, they can certainly swing it a little bit more this way at time of permitting where you might have to meet.
Yeah,
them.
I would say when we go in for the permit that I would, at that point, meet with them again and kind of challenge the fact that there's this geometry is this way. It's like, it doesn't really help us to have 18 feet where the throat of the driveway is. I still have to get around and into the garage. So I think at this point, it's sort of like a technicality with the 18 feet. And again, there's no one here to tell us why.
Why it is or isn't.
But yeah, now if it was a single car, it would be 10
Yeah,
feet.
just stay up by the mic
Oh,
if you
sorry.
can.
If it was single car, it would be 10 to 12 feet. So I can, make the argument that by the time you've backed out and are leaving, it's a single car. It's like you're not getting 2 cars in there at the same time.
Right. Okay.
So it's something to be argued later with them.
I think that was helpful. Anybody else have any other questions?
I'm just thinking it's a thought that since the variance is for basically the construction of the garage, and the variance doesn't address the driveway, and the transportation can deal with that later, then
That's a great
we can just move forward and just
Yeah, I mean,
go
they,
with what's asked for.
right, it's stated that it's consistent, so
Yeah.
they're okay with
Yeah.
the garage concept, I believe. So, anyway, is there anything else, any other questions? If not, we'll allow the applicant his 5 minutes. You have 5 minutes for
I
rebuttal.
yield to the board. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Without objection, I'm going to close the public hearing. Board, somebody like to make a motion and/or do we need discussion?
So we could just go ahead and approve and just ignore the driveway?
Yes, we
Okay.
can.
I have a question though.
Okay.
So, when we make a motion to approve, we say as shown on the site plan. This site plan shows the driveway as 18 feet wide, which seems to conflict with what Natural Resources has told us.
We had testimony that from the applicant, they're perfectly fine with adjusting to allow the 9.5 feet that Natural Resources wants. They're okay with that.
Okay.
So I think the testimony would apply even though the site plan is not exact.
Yeah, Ms. Walker's question, I think, is a good one.
It's a good
I
one,
think-
yeah,
I think traditionally, we have done this in the past, and our theory is we approve this, and these things get worked out with permitting. If they need to move things around or adjust to do a cutout in the driveway, they do it. I was thrown from the earlier case, and I have the sense that others are experiencing some of the same concerns, but I think
But again,
we're
the site
okay.
plan for the garage, which is the
Yeah.
setback variance, is
Yeah.
correct.
Mr. Villa pointed that out. I think that
Is
was a good
correct.
point.
Right. Is there a motion?
I was not keeping as meticulous notes on this one because I was concerned about these other things, but I move that the variance request for case VRB 19-104 for property located at 3206 West Hawthorne Road be granted as depicted on the site plan presented at the public hearing to reduce the front yard setback from 25 feet to 16 feet with the encroachment of eaves and gutters based upon the applicant presenting competent and substantial evidence in the record and at this public hearing of an unnecessary hardship or practical difficulty when considering the 5 hardship criteria set forth in section 27-80 of the city code, specifically that the property is seeking to build a reasonable 2-car garage and is trying to adjust based upon existing structures on the site and an off-site grand oak tree, and this is the means by which they are trying to avoid those existing conditions.
All right, I have a motion for approval. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a second by Ms. Hurtak. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Been approved 5-0.
Thank you.
All right, next case, VRB 19-105.
Ready? Ready?
Yep, we're ready.
All right, Roberta Curry, Planning, Design, and Development Coordination. VRB case number 19-105. Address is 11304 North Hamner Avenue. Code section under consideration is 27156. The applicant is seeking to reduce the front yard setback from 25 feet to 8 feet. Applicant is seeking to construct a new garage and driveway. The property is zoned RS60 and was purchased in 2005. Existing single-family residence was constructed in 1960. Sorry. My fingers are cold. Okay. Aerial with the property in question, located here, surrounded in red. Existing property is RS60, and Hamner Street is here. Site plan. Again, existing Hamner Street, existing residence, and proposed driveway coming in through here with the garage addition here. Front of structure. Looking to the side. And looking to the other side. I have no other information to enter into the record and here for questions.
Any questions? Applicant, please come forward. State your name, address, and if you've been sworn.
My name is Ronald Cruz. I live at 11304 North Hamden Avenue, and yes, I've been sworn. What we're trying to do with this variance is add a 1.5-car garage to my property. We want to add a 1.5-car garage so that we have better access, more parking, because as you can see in the photos before, I have to park in the grass. I'm a fireman, and so I'm gone every 3rd day, and my wife and kids have to get in and out of the car in the rain, and for safety purposes, it'd be nice if they had a nice enclosure that they can come in and park at. On this one, you can see where we want to put the new garage would be, and the driveway coming in here. It would offer us a lot more space for vehicle, and we want to stay in this house, and we really like the neighborhood, and we just need more space, more area more storage. I think they would make the neighborhood look better because I'm having to park on the grass and it's destroying the grass, and there's really we have no other areas to park other than the bad driveway that's there. So it would offer us a lot more with that. So this is how far down the driveway would go, or the new garage would go, where the cones are. I don't know if you could see it in this one, but.
No, you were good.
So the driveway wouldn't go down that far. So it wouldn't impede anybody's vision on the street, because I have a big, huge podocarpus that the driveway wouldn't even go out as far as the podocarpus on the one side for my neighbor. And on the other side, there's another hedge, which if this garage went there, it would make, you wouldn't be able to see it through the podocarpus anyway. Again, where the cones are is how far down the proposed garage would go, the sideways entrance garage. So, again, it wouldn't be an obstruction to anybody else's vision or sight or anything like that. It would look better, and it would make it so we could finish the rest of the project, making the front of the house look more presentable and such like that. This is from the other side, or from the side, from a neighbor's view, where the podocarpus is. I think I would show you the site plan they had. I really don't have anything else to show.
Does that conclude your presentation?
I think so. I'd really just, I'd like to have the variance done just because I really like the neighborhood. We lived in the house for 14 years. My kids are getting bigger. We want to continue to stay there. They're doing more sports. We'd like to have just the security and, for me to feel protected while I'm gone, for my family, and just stay in the neighborhood. We don't plan on going anywhere. We love Forest Hills. We love our location. My kids go to school for the neighborhood school, so we want to stay in that neighborhood and just, we've kind of outgrown it as a family, but we want to just make it fit our lifestyle better. And, when we first moved in, we had great plans of doing all these things to this house, and stuff has happened to where it gets pushed back and pushed back and pushed back, and now we can finally do these things. And we drew out these plans, and then to find out that we had to have, I didn't know all this stuff, the setbacks and all that. And we just want to, stay there and make it our forever home and get it fixed the way we need for my family. So that's about it.
Okay, is there anyone in the audience that wants to speak on or against this application? Okay, is there? Here comes somebody.
I was late.
Oh, okay, well, you're allowed to speak.
So Nicole.
Name, address, and have you been sworn?
Nicole Cruz, 11304 Northampton Avenue. Yes, I was
you've been
sworn in.
Okay.
So one of the things that he didn't mention that Mr. Cotton had told us about on letting you guys know is that our side access to our property, on one side it's like 7 and on the other it's 9. On the side where it says it's 9, we don't have that much space. And then on the, based off of the survey itself, and then also on the, from just living in the house. Okay, so it says that we actually have more space on this side, but based off of this side, this is where our neighbor has, I don't know, their existing fences. We can't go this way. And then on the left side, on this side over here, it's only 7.5, and it looks like we actually have more if you're looking at property-wise, but it's not our property, it's technically our neighbors, so it wouldn't be. So we don't have the ability to even go through our side yard to the back with any kind of vehicle. So that only allows us to do this front space that you see like there instead. We currently do have a carport, but it's made on the standards of like the 1950s, so it's very small. So even with like, I have a 4Runner, so parking in there, you don't really have a lot of room to open or do anything. So we were just kind of counting on if we could go forward, we would be allowed to use that as a living space in a house that's only like 1,200 square foot with 4 family members. So 2 growing boys and for us. So that was it that I just kind of wanted to add, because I know he mentioned on where there's a hardship on why we had to go forward versus back. So I just wanted to mention that. And then I think that's it.
Points well taken. You should have convinced him to let you do the presentation.
Well, that's why he tried to convince me, and I was like, no, it says your name on it, so.
He's got to own it. I
So
get
if
it.
you guys have any questions, you let us know.
We will. All right.
Thank you all.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak? All right. Board, do you have questions for the applicant and his wife? Or staff?
I'm gonna ask staff about
Okay.
these transportation
Speak up.
questions.
Speak up.
Staff, transportation questions about the location of the 2 paved parking spaces, the driveway apron and the right-of-way, and remove the existing abandoned apron, since there can only be 1 driveway accessing the property.
Roberta Curry, Roberta Curry, Planning, Design, and Development Coordination. Again, transportation's comments, transportation found the project consistent with conditions and placed the conditions as mentioned in the staff report to be corrected at time of permitting. So they've asked for I think the drawing presented is basically a sketch showing the proposed driveway. So what transportation is asking is the apron to be continued to the right-of-way, okay? That the 2 spaces are going to be shown, so we're assuming that it's a 2-car garage, okay? So they'll meet that 2-car parking requirement. And then, yes, the existing driveway apron would have to be removed. And we'd assume the whole driveway, because that's where the new garage is going to be, so.
Yes, it's not a driveway.
So as conditions placed on the approval, that can be addressed at permitting.
And I guess then my question for the applicant is, would that be okay with you all?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Now you say your name, who you are, don't act like we have to do it before.
Reynolds Cruz, 11304 Northampton Avenue. Yes, that would be fine. We don't want to keep that asphalt driveway anyway, so.
Okay.
And Roberta, I'm sorry, again, just to clarify, the 2-car parking requirement, because we heard testimony, it's a 1.5-car garage. So 1 car could go in the garage,
Yes.
and 1 car could be in the driveway,
Yes.
as long as it's 100% on the property.
Correct.
Okay, that's the clarification, thanks. Any other questions? Mr. Cruz, you have 5 minutes for rebuttal if you need it. Or Mrs.
No, we're good, thank you.
Okay. So without objection, I'm going to move to close the public hearing. Board, do we have a motion and/or discussion?
Can you pass down the paper and I'll make a motion?
Sure.
I'm gonna bring extras next time, so that maybe other people will make the motion.
Well, Jared usually has extras.
I move that the variance request for case VRB 19105 for property located at 11304 North Hamner Avenue be granted as depicted on the site plan presented at the public hearing for a reduction in the front yard setback from 25 feet to 8 feet with an encroachment for eaves and gutters based on the applicant presenting competent and substantial evidence in the record at this public hearing of the unnecessary hardship or practical difficulty when considering the 5 hardship criteria set forth in section 27-80 of the city code, and specifically that given the current left and right side yard setbacks, there is really no option to construct the garage in the back of the house or in another location on the property, as cars would be unable to access said garage.
Okay. So I have a motion for approval. Is there a second? Okay, we have a second by Mr. Feldman. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Been approved 5-0.
Thank you.
One more.
No, keep it down there. Just keep it down there.
Made it, last one. Okay.
Okay.
Ready?
DRB 19-111, I'm sorry. Last
Roberta.
but not least.
Roberta Mead Curry, Planning, Design, and Development Coordination, ERB case number 19-1011. Address 3818 West State Street. Code section 27-156 is under consideration. The applicant is seeking to reduce the rear yard setback from 20 feet to 5 feet. Applicant is seeking to add to existing commercial structure. Rear yard is reduced due to the existing drainage area to the rear of the property. Property is zoned RO, residential office, and was purchased in 2016. The existing structure was constructed in 1960. Aerial of the property. That up. Circled in red, residential office. RS50 surrounding this piece. Commercial intensive here. State Street is across here. This is the drainage ditch running this way. There's also a drainage piece running this way. Site plan. Existing structure, proposed addition, parking area, State Street, driveway access, parking through here, drainage ditch here. Front of property. Property to the east. Property looking west, and then this is that side drainage area through here. It is fenced off and gated. Again, looking west. I do have one condition from right-of-way. That the site plan be corrected at time of permit. To remove this structure here, which is technically in the drainage ditch and not on their property. Property line boundary is here. I have no further information to enter into the record. I'm here for questions.
When you say zoning is inconsistent, it's just because it doesn't meet the setback?
Correct.
Right, okay. Thank you. Applicant, come on forward, state your name, address, and if you've been sworn.
Good evening. My name is Mushir Shnuda. My address is 20117 Bay Cedar Avenue, and I've been sworn in.
Thank you. You have 10 minutes.
I apologize for bringing full sets. I didn't know exactly what I was set up for the presentation. I'll try to make it short and efficient.
Other way. That's good.
So, something quick to, not really correct, but to clarify, I own this property since 2014. In 2016, I made the quick deed claim, I guess, to put it under my, my corporation, West State. So technically, I have owned it for 5 years. In 2016, I applied for rezoning to have it from residential to residential office, to move my office. I'm a structural engineer, and I wanted to have my office in this area. And everything was fine. Even when I bought the property, this is the survey that I have. And if you can see, even on the survey, the black line was my property line. This is how I bought the property, all the way here. And in the back, there is lot 24 and 25. And again, when I did the rezoning, everything was like that. I developed the full set of drawings, applied for permit, and suddenly I discovered, the city discovered that instead of having 22 feet setback to my property line, which was assumed to be here, that no, I don't own this whole property. Turns out that FDOT owns this ditch part of, all like 3 blocks, and it extends like I said, 3 blocks. It takes like 17 feet from my property and something similar to the back and all of that. So if I'm left, now the new property line is at those 2 points. So in order for me to do my addition and have the parking and everything, I request the setback variance to be 5 feet so I can put it. It's still on my property. It's still the distance between my building and the back is about 50 or 60 feet. So it's not encroaching anyone. I was in close communication with the FDOT and even went to their McKinley office, and they are the one provided me with the drawings and the deeds, because apparently they own this property since the 1940s. And nobody discovered that until like last year. And the city was helpful to search for deeds. They went back, the farthest that they could go back is like 5 deeds to the 1970s, and it was all like that. So I woke up one day and I lost 17 feet of my land. So I guess it consists for a hardship, if you may. That's it. We have developed all the drawings for that, and like I said, we were in permit and everything is good. And we didn't know, of course, about this structure that was removed. And of course, once we granted, hopefully, the variance, we're gonna slope away from the ditch. All the drainage that, the condition that the staff was mentioned. That's it.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on or against this application? Okay, seeing none. Board, do you have questions for the applicant and/or staff? I have one. Are you not allowed to drain your property into this ditch? Is that a requirement that you cannot drain into it?
I didn't check this, but
But you're intending to drain to the right-of-way, the street,
Yeah.
State Street?
yeah,
Okay.
I just don't want to deal with the ditch anymore.
Okay. I don't have any other questions. Anybody else? You gotta ask. Come on.
Just from a legal standpoint, have you talked to your title insurance company about this?
I did, and they did an investigation, and they admitted they were wrong.
Oops.
And the city, actually, Mr. Cotton was very helpful. They met with him, they met with everyone, And yes, and I even supplied them with a copy of a deed book dated 1943 or something. I don't know where it was missed, but just the fact, I mean, it's really annoying to wake up one day and you found that big chunk of your land you don't own.
Did you get a rebate on your title insurance?
I did.
Okay,
I did.
good.
Just a partial. I mean.
Okay.
I mean,
They'll give you a piece.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's good to know.
All right.
So, thanks for
The
asking.
legal mind had to ask. Okay, we don't have any other questions. You have 5 more minutes if you want it.
I'm good.
We can
Thank you
stay
so
here
much.
and hang out.
No, I want to thank
All
you
right,
all.
okay, then I move to close the public hearing. Board, do you have, anybody want to make a motion and/or discussion?
I can make a motion.
Okay.
Hopefully-
You've been doing that tonight.
Hopefully, I'll get the reasoning or the hardship correct. If I don't, someone please add to that. So move that the variance request for VRB 19-111 for property located at 3818 West State Street, Tampa, presented at the public hearing in order to seek relief from section 27-156 to reduce the rear yard setback from 20 feet to 5 feet, and that's with an encroachment for eaves and gutters based upon the applicant presenting competent and substantial evidence in the record, and at this public hearing of an unnecessary hardship or practical difficulty when considering the 5 hardship criteria set forth in section 27-80 of the Tampa City Code, specifically that the rear yard is effectively reduced due to a pre-existing drainage area to the rear of the property, which was not identified in city records, was not reflected in the legal title description and survey of the property that was on file and what was presented. And that's it,
Okay.
if that works.
That works. All right, we have a motion for approval. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, seconded by Ms. Hurtak. Any more discussion? All right, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None. You've been approved 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you for waiting.
My pleasure.
Good things come to those who wait, sometimes.
Always.
Yep. Are we gonna see you next month, or? Not sure.